It's election eve in America, and the Dems are calling in the big guns to bail them out. Barack Obama back on the trail in Virginia to pump up the privileged white lady running for governor over the black woman. Racist? You make the call. Then to New Jersey, where he stumped for the candidate there, and he talked about poop.
I'll admit, it's worse than even I expected, but I did warn y'all. They never miss a chance to scapegoat minorities and blame DEI for every problem under the sun. You got a flat tire? Must be DEI. Your wife kicked you out? DEI. The weird videos of a U.S. president with a crown on his head flying a fighter jet and dumping poop on American citizens.
He's literally explaining a meme.
You hate when I do that.
I know. Barry O also tapping into his socialist roots by calling Zoran to praise his campaign and offering to be a sounding board. Well, he is sounding bored. Trump also weighing in on Zoran the commie and his looks.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right?
But what if Mondami becomes mayor?
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there. So I don't know that he's won, and I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time.
You know, it's impressive seeing Obama just so quickly after winning the New York City Marathon. Dana, it's always a Kenyan. It's a joke. It's a joke. Maybe Obama can explain it.
I got it.
I had so much stuff about Obama, but then I heard that thing where she goes, there are some people that are, don't you hate that? Like, name the some people.
Yeah, right. Who said it?
Yes, there is no some people.
Can I talk about Obama, though?
Yeah, of course.
So if he had coattails,
Yes.
then Kamala Harris would be president. They can't call upon the energy in the party right now because the energy in the party is a socialist.
Yes.
And he's likely to win the New York City mayor's race. So that would be bad for Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, which is the closer of the two races that we're going to be watching tomorrow. And Jack Ciattarelli only lost by, I think, 3 points the last time around, and he's likely to at least give this a really good go tomorrow night. His team thinks it's actually going to happen for them. President Obama also, he called Mamdani, didn't appear with him, and it was like, hey, all good. So basically, then he's covered if Mamdani wins, but then he can have distance from him if he loses. Because the Democrats' intra-party problems right now are so interesting to see. Mamdani, for example, one of the things that if you would look back to his past statements, what was he obsessed with? Jewish people. And then he works his way up and he says, but actually, I'm going to give you free health care, free buses, and a free apartment, but also the Jews.
Yeah.
Right? So now that party, the Democrats, never dealt with that party. They just stood by. The Republicans are having a rip-roaring fight about it right now, and that's more healthy, I think, in the long run. President Obama, I think that these are both bluish states. If Obama was going to get it across the finish line, then what happened this weekend would not have happened. My last point is this, and over the weekend, so at this event that you're looking at right now, apparently it was supposed to be at a much bigger venue, but they had to make it, they had to change the venue to make it look like there were more people because people are watching football, they're not that engaged.
Oh, that's a nice way of putting it, Dana. Charlie, obviously, Barack Obama chooses this white woman. Her name is Spanberger, who supports men in dresses in women's locker rooms, over a black successful woman. Why does Obama hate black women? Because that's what he would say about you if you didn't choose the black candidate.
Well, there's the difference between him and me. I'm not going to say that about him, but it is a very good point.
Thank you.
And he is, he is pulling for one of the things that he did in 2020 was, 2024 was he lectured, especially black male voters, saying you need to vote for the black woman on the ticket.
Yep.
And now he's pulling for the lady that he agrees with, as opposed to the black woman who is extraordinarily successful. He also, at that same event that he did in Norfolk, he campaigned for Jay Jones and lectured the rest of us about how politics has turned so dark and divisive, and we need to stop our dark, divisive politics, as he's campaigning for a guy who advocated assassinating his political opponent because he didn't like his political opponent.
And their kids.
And their kids. In terms of him being the cleanup guy, he's not a very good cleanup guy. Barack Obama cost Democrats over 1,000 seats during the course of his career, his 8 years in the White House. He's really good at getting himself elected and then ruining everybody else around him. And I think that, and I agree with what you said, Dana, New Jersey and Virginia are blue states. They should clean up on Tuesday. If they don't, it'll be because they don't. I mean, if they do, it'll be because that's the way the sort of trend goes. If they don't, that will be a 5-alarm fire for the Democrat Party.
Piers, what did you make of Obama's kind of like riff on DEI, which was, I have to say, was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But does he realize how everybody feels about it at this point?
I have literally written a book about it.
It seems kind of irrelevant right now.
Well, it's interesting. I've written this book called Woke is Dead, and people say, well, it's not dead. I said, no, it's not dead. Because the people who perpetrate it don't actually realize everybody else has killed it off. When I watch Obama, when I watch Mamdani, when I watch AOC, I watch all this thing. What I'm actually seeing is a very weird existential crisis for the Democrats, I think. You have a liberal chair here. And it's great, right? You have somebody here that disagrees with all you guys. And I get put in this chair, but I'm kind of nothing to do with where the liberals have gone. I have nothing in common with the progressive left whatsoever, with wokeism. You're going to need 2 chairs here. You're going to need old-fashioned people who identified as liberals, Bill Maher, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, RFK. There's a whole load of people, me, people who would have happily said, I'm a liberal, but who now think, well, that doesn't describe what liberalism is to me. They've become the new fascists. And the idea that New York will now be run by a genuine socialist is extraordinary to me, but also a massive political gift to the Republicans. Because if he gets to become mayor of New York, it cannot work what he's proposing. You cannot just give everything away without actually making other people pay for it. People are going to get taxed to hell in New York, and this will become a referendum on the Democrats. But meanwhile, he's the most charismatic person they have. And so he's out there as the flag waver now for the Democrats. That's a disaster for them politically, I think. They need desperately somebody to come through in the center ground, center left, somebody who can actually reach out to appeal to a cross-section of Americans. That's not Mamdani, but he's now the face of the party. So Obama's come out, and of course he knows this. That's why he's not endorsing him.
Right.
And then you look at Obama, and I did laugh at the DEI stuff. He's a good, charismatic talker, always was. But the idea that he puts his moral halo on about Trump is pretty nauseating. This is the guy who was the bomber in chief. I think I'm right in saying that he dropped a bomb every 3 hours when he was president of the United States. More bombs in 1 year and more often illegal drone programs than have been run by any other president in history. He was also the deporter in chief, let's not forget, deported 3 million people in his 8 years. And yet here he is with this moral halo. He was so concerned about the law that when he campaigned in 2008 over closing Guantanamo Bay, at the end of his 8 years in power, it was still open. So, he's a bit of a phony, Barack Obama, and I think that applies to all of them. I think Mamdani's a phony. He's a guy that wanted to defund the NYPD, called them a bunch of racists. Now he says, I didn't mean it. You look at someone like Gavin Newsom, who says, I never use any of that woke stuff. I never said Latinx, and then we find 1,000 examples of him saying Latinx and so on. They are a bunch of phonies. And until they find somebody who's authentic, Trump, for them, because Trump, whether you love him or hate him, he is incredibly authentic.
All right, Emily, tomorrow, big day. What are your thoughts on what could happen? Do you feel it's going to be a Zoran
Well, the problem
hell.
is, as you guys know, I am an eternal optimist. However, I am terrified, like hide under the bed, terrified that this city can essentially fall to ruin, which is what would happen if Mamdani wins. And what I'm not quite sure is when you have President Obama coming out and making the call, and sure, not making a full-throated endorsement, but it was a dang substantive step in that direction. Who is Mamdani's biggest challenger at this moment? Andrew Cuomo, a strong establishment Democrat whose policies align pretty perfectly along with President Obama's. Incremental progressive reform within, financial and fiscal responsibility, climate action, affordability, LGBTQ rights, et cetera. But yet he has not said anything about Andrew Cuomo. And instead, he's caught up in the energy of Mamdani, a blatant anti-Semite that refuses to condemn Hamas or talk about the terrorism threat on this soil. And he is somehow implying, in my opinion, that the optics of supporting Cuomo, the sexual harassment cloud and the shame, the optics of this aging out Democrat established person, regardless of the Cuomo family, is somehow more of a taint than Mamdani. That is all you need to know about the Democrat Party, that they have completely sacrificed ideals and prioritizing. Remember, they were the party of values. Everything out of their mouth is about skin color and gender until the person is actually rooted in common sense, like Winsome Sears. And then it is crickets. And who I blame, too, are those ridiculous, self-serving and self-satisfying upper class, white women like Mickey Sherrill, I can never pronounce her name, who's sitting there being like, as Obama is saying these comments. You are most of the problem. And now Obama is just the mouthpiece for it. But that phoniness that you talk about, that has riddled and addled the Democrat Party.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.